ancestors had built. On the seamless surface of the loch, a pair of swans glided sedately. Far away over the water, black clouds boiled. In the early morning, with the sun shining, Light could just about forget it was her father's funeral today, or at least trick her mind into not thinking of it. She was enjoying the view of the loch and the gardens when something strange caught her eye. Standing together on the lawn below her window was a group of ravens, arranged in a perfect circle. They were big. Light wasn't sure she'd ever seen such big ones, even when she'd visited the Tower of London with her father. But that wasn't the only strange thing about them. They stood perfectly still, as if keeping watch over the house, or waiting for someone within it to come out and meet them. Light stared at them for some time, but they showed no inclination to move, only stood, heads cocked, eyes sharp, as if awaiting instruction. Light turned away from the window, feeling disconcerted. She took her funeral outfit from the wardrobe, a simple black skirt suit with a white blouse. She hung the suit on the brass knob on the wardrobe door, then laid her black patent leather shoes on the floor beneath it. The effect was a little uncanny, as if an invisible girl were standing there. Deciding that her imagination was definitely on overdrive this morning, Light took off her pyjamas and put on the blouse, then shrugged herself into the jacket. She looked at herself in the ornate mirror set into the wardrobe, which was a relic of the 17th century when the house had been built. Silvery tarnish marked the corners of the mirror, framing Light's face. The contrast between the black fabric and her snow-white hair was startling. Her skin was white and glowing as the moon. Because Light was an albino, she usually disliked dressing in black. But for the funeral, she was making an exception. Putting on the skirt, she thought she looked like a black and white photograph. Where her mother and father had been invaded by the colours of the world, the blue of the sky was in her father's eyes, the green of the earth in her mother's. She had been left untouched, white, with only a touch of pink in her eyes. An observer would notice that those eyes were usually shining and intelligent, except occasionally when they would go blank, as if Light was tuning in some private internal channel. As satisfied as she would ever be with her appearance, Light took off the funeral outfit again and put on her usual tracksuit and t-shirt. The suit was itchy. It could wait. She left the room and headed down through the old house to the front door. Given the brightness of the day, she picked up a pair of sunglasses from the hall table to protect her sensitive eyes. There were no tears, despite the approaching funeral. She was aware that the staff talked about her, that some of them thought she didn't care about her father just because she didn't cry all the time. But Light did care. She simply had to remain strong, because at the edge of her mind was a terrible, vacant grief that demanded to be let in. And mixed in with the grief was fear. Abject terror at the idea of being left alone. This maelstrom rushed around the borders of Light's consciousness like high-altitude winds, and she was dimly aware that if she let it in, if she cracked open the door of the pressurized plane that was her personality, it would rip apart everything within, pulling it around and out. Light needed a moment outside before facing anyone. She wanted to delay the start of the day, delay the moment when her father's empty coffin would be lowered into the ground. She opened the heavy front door of the house and stepped out onto the lawn, shivering slightly at the cold. The crows were still standing on the lawn, and now they turned to look at her. She frowned at the black birds, unable to remember ever seeing so many of them in one place. As one, silently,